Every year, thousands of crimes across this country go unsolved. Files are opened, evidence is logged, investigators search for answers. But sometimes the trail goes cold. Witnesses disappear, leads dry up, and the truth gets buried beneath time. Behind every one of those files is a real story. A family still waiting. A question that refuses to fade. Tonight, we reopen one of those investigations. Because somewhere, someone knows what really happened. And until the truth comes to light, this case remains open.
The disappearance of Maya Millete, January 7th, 2021 began like any other Thursday in the suburban neighborhoods of Chula Vista, California. Sunlight filtered through the palms, children rushed out the door for school, and adults settled into their routines. In one home on a quiet street lived a woman named Maya Millete, a 39-year-old mother, wife, and friend whose disappearance would soon grip an entire community. Maya wasn't a stranger to kindness. She was known for her warm smile and her devotion to her children. She loved her home, cherished family traditions, and shared moments of everyday life with friends and relatives. She wasn't someone you expected to vanish, but that is exactly what happened. That Thursday evening, neighbors heard nothing unusual. No screams, no argument, no disturbance. Inside her home, Maya was preparing for her daughter's upcoming birthday celebration. The cake was chosen, decorations were being discussed. All signs pointed to a normal evening. By the next morning, Maya was gone. When she didn't show up for planned activities and failed to respond to messages, concern quickly turned to alarm. Her husband, Larry Millete, called police and reported her missing. At first, the assumption was that she might have taken a trip unexpectedly, maybe needed space, maybe needed time. But something didn't add up. When officers arrived at the home, they found no obvious signs of forced entry. There was no overturned furniture, no visible struggle, no immediate clue as to where she might have gone. Her phone, her keys, and her personal items were all left behind. Nothing suggested travel or voluntary departure. Investigators began to collect information to build a timeline of what had happened. They examined phone records. They requested surveillance footage from nearby homes and businesses. They interviewed family members and anyone who might have seen Maya that morning. At the start, there was confusion. People wanted to believe she was safe somewhere. But as hours turned into days, that hope began to feel distant. Detectives noticed something curious in the digital trail. Searches linked to Larry's accounts showed odd queries. These weren't typical. They included searches like how to cast a love spell, ways to make someone stay in a relationship, and, more alarmingly, searches related to poisoning and how to kill someone without a body being found. These searches didn't prove guilt. They were not evidence of a crime by themselves. But they raised questions, serious questions, about what may have been happening behind closed doors in that household. As the digital investigation expanded, police also collected testimonies from friends and family members. Many recalled conversations that hinted at tension between Maya and Larry. Some remembered recent disagreements. Some mentioned that Maya had told relatives she was unhappy, that she had expressed fears about how things were going in her marriage. But words are not proof. They are context, and in missing person cases, context can sometimes point detectives in the right direction. Search parties were organized. Volunteers walked through nearby parks, canyons, and trails. Flyers with Maya's smiling face were distributed. Social media buzzed with tags and shares, all urging people to bring Maya home. As the volume of tips grew, detectives carefully evaluated each one. Some were promising, some were wild, some went nowhere. By the end of the first week, hundreds of tips had been logged, yet none led to a confirmed sighting or definitive clue. Weeks turned into months. Through it all, Maya's children went to school without their mom. They faced birthdays, holidays, and quiet moments with an empty chair at the table. The guilt and confusion of a missing parent reverberated through their lives in ways impossible to articulate. Months after she vanished, law enforcement made a dramatic announcement. They had arrested Larry Millete, Maya's husband. The charges were serious: murder, domestic violence, and related offenses, even though no body was ever found. This development shocked many. A suspect had been arrested, but Maya herself was still missing. There was still no answer to the most fundamental question: What happened to her? In court, prosecutors presented a case built around digital evidence, witness statements, and patterns that they argued demonstrated motive and intent. They discussed the troubling search history, the timeline of events, and the unexplained disappearance of Maya from her own home. Defense attorneys countered by emphasizing that there was no body, no direct forensic evidence of a crime scene, and no eyewitness who could definitively place Maya in harm's way before she vanished. They argued that absence of evidence was not evidence of absence, that without a body or direct proof, the state's case was built on inference. The courtroom became a stage for competing narratives. One side argued that someone close to Maya was responsible for what happened. The other side argued that a disappearance without a body could not be proven as a murder beyond a reasonable doubt. As the trial unfolded, family members took the stand. Friends testified about Maya's personality, her roles as a mother and sister, and the sudden void her absence had created. For the children, the courtroom was a reminder of a reality they were still living every day, a life without their mother present. Outside the courtroom, the public debated. Social media lit up with theories. Armchair detectives pored over timelines. Commentators argued about motive, context, and evidence. The story became a cultural puzzle, dissected and reassembled in thousands of online posts. Yet, through all the noise, the hardest part remained. Maya was still missing. No one knew where she was. Her body had never been found. There was no confirmed location of her final moments. For families of missing persons, this uncertainty is a kind of punishment in itself. It robs you of closure. It robs you of memory, replacing it with questions that have no definitive answers. Detectives continued to examine every angle. They reviewed old tips. They reopened leads. They checked surveillance footage from a wider radius. They continued to pursue any credible information that could shine a light on Maya's disappearance. Professionals in missing person investigations know that time can become both an enemy and an ally. As time passes, memories fade. Evidence degrades. Leads cool down. Witnesses move on. But new technologies can also emerge. Advances in forensic science, digital analysis, and pattern recognition can sometimes unlock puzzles years after they first began. As of today, Maya's whereabouts remain unknown. Her disappearance lingers as one of the most puzzling and emotionally wrenching cases of the decade. It raises fundamental questions about trust, family dynamics, and the unexplained gaps that can exist between what we see and what we know. For her children, every sunrise is a reminder. Every birthday without her is a void. Every unanswered question is a reminder of what's missing, not just a person, but a presence that once shaped their lives. As detectives walk the same streets, pore over the same documents, and revisit the same leads, one truth remains at the heart of this story. A woman walked into her home on January 7, 2021, and never walked out the way she came in. Where's Maya? What happened that night? Until those questions are answered, this case remains open. Justice has not yet brought her home. Her story continues. Her disappearance endures. This is the search for Maya Millete. This case remains open. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more.